So, welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast, a home for the authentic creative. We're so excited because my friend Sarah Entrup, who's been a teacher to me, a mentor to me from years ago, is coming on today. And I'm here with the gorgeous Amber Sousa. And we're very excited because we're going to be getting together. She's doing an event tomorrow night in Portland, Oregon, where she's going to be sharing about her book. So you guys probably won't be hearing this until after the event's happened.
We'll tell you about it later.
So we'll follow up on that. But let me read Sarah's bio. So Sarah Entrup has been aware of her purpose from a young age to help awaken humanity. Just a small purpose. Just a little thing. Yeah, I guess.
I relate. Yeah.
She's got a big mission. So from her education to her travels to her work, this has always been the trajectory and driving force of her life. From early on, she learned to use her clairvoyant gifts to help elevate her own and the collective consciousness. She has a degree in transpersonal psychology from Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado, the only accredited Buddhist university in the US, and has completed undergraduate and graduate work at Psychic Horizons, an affiliation with the Berkeley Psychic Institute. Sarah is a certified kundalini yoga teacher, as well as a certified sexual polarity and feminine embodiment teacher. Most recently, Sarah's passion for study has been focused on nervous system regulation work as a path to resolve core wounds. She's learned from powerful healers, gifted teachers, shamans, and psychic surgeons the world over, and for over 20 years has offered coaching, readings, classes, programs, trainings, and retreats for the purpose of helping people heal, awaken, and learn to love in a powerful way. So I want to share, as we anxiously await or calmly await Sarah's entrance, I want to share
anxious.
Excitedly, I should say. Sarah,
enthusiastically,
I know through my mom, because my mom's been on a spiritual journey for a very long time, and I've met a lot of incredible spiritual teachers through her seeking, and Sarah was one of them. And she did a women's retreat in Costa Rica. And I was living in New York City at the time, and I remember the moment that I saw the flyer for it, and it was like you get to swim with the dolphins or watch the dolphins swimming, and that we were going to be in the jungles of Costa Rica with these other women and doing healing work. And I just felt called to it. And I'd never done anything like that before. I don't think I'd ever been on a women's retreat before. I'd never been to Costa Rica before. I didn't really deeply know Sarah, but I felt very called to that. And I had worked with her a little bit prior to that. And so that was quite a journey getting to the location, because we had to like sleep in one location first and then take this car through this, rickety roads. And once we got to the retreat center, it was just absolutely gorgeous. Like they say, pura vida, like pure life. And we did dancing and yoga and breathing and healing. And it was really, really amazing bonding with the women there and eating healthy foods there. And it was just a very life-changing, beautiful experience that I'll always remember. So that was because of Sarah. And then she also, I remember, gave this workshop in Vermont that I went to with my mom and my stepdad and my fiance at the time. And it was all about fuck your way to God. Like that's not what it was called, but it was really using our divine femininity and our sexuality. I mean, obviously men were there, but it was dropping into that union with ourselves, with source, with God, and not disconnecting from all of our chakras, like our sacral, and really using that experience of union and sexuality and sensuality as an expression of the divine and as a way of connecting to source. And that was very fascinating and exciting. And I remember it being like a really interesting journey. And I have this vague memory of like maybe she had us like close our eyes or do a blindfold at one point and like work with, you know, like touching our partner, or like giving each other hugs, or just things like that. I don't remember exactly. There she
Yay!
is. Yay. So Sarah's here. I was just explaining the Costa Rican retreat. I was explaining the workshop in Vermont. So perfect timing.
I'm so excited. Everything that you just were talking about is everything that's in my field right now. Hi, Sarah. Welcome.
Hi, ladies. Thank you. I'm so sorry I'm late. My computer was completely dead. I was like, what?
Don't
All
worry.
It's lovely
Small
to have you
miracles.
here. It's all good. Yes.
Thank you. So nice to be here. So nice to meet you, Amber, and so nice to see you, Siri.
So good to connect with you. I don't know if you heard me, but I was saying that I was sharing about the stories about that you were the reason that I went to Costa Rica for the first time and my first women's retreat and that whole journey and how life-changing that was years ago.
So funny. You're
It was
right.
like, I want to say it was like 15, 20 years ago, 20 years
Like
ago.
20 years ago.
And then we also had that workshop in Vermont, one of the workshops that you gave where my mom was hosting you, and it was like a sexuality, kind of sensuality,
Yeah.
connecting with God through your sexuality. And that was very cool.
Oh my God. We were babies. We were babies. I love it.
I mean, but you were like in your full power and wisdom then. So
Yeah.
the work you're
So
doing
funny.
now has got to be just mind blowing.
It's actually much more calm and chill and like, okay, let's just all chill the fuck out.
That resonates with me. When we first wake up, we're like, oh my God, we gotta tell everybody. And then we're like,
Totally.
okay.
Hey, let's just chill, have some good food, love our kids, like keep it chill. Yeah.
So I read your bio before you popped on, but so tell us, you have two?
I have two kids.
Yeah.
A 10-year-old and a 13 Saturday, tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So
Very close to
we
mine.
also both have
Yep.
two.
Nice.
9
How old are
and 11.
yours? 9, 11. Yeah.
My son is 9, my daughter's 11.
Nice.
And I've got
Siri,
an
how old are yours?
8 and a 10. They're both boys, 8 and 10. Yeah.
So fun. So good.
We were
Yeah,
actually, go ahead.
We're all clawing our way out of the first phase. And then like Julian, my son, he's turning 13. It's like, oh, okay, a whole different level of everything, life now that puberty is coming on. It's like, okay.
Oh yeah. This
It's
is
a
what
trip.
I'm experiencing as well with my daughter who's, she'll be 12 in October, but we're moving into this next phase and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Is she bleeding already?
No,
Uh-huh.
she's not, but her body's changing and the emotional fluctuations are increasing. And so we've just been talking a lot about it. And I've just been, even though it's triggering, because when the attitude comes, like I'm aware of what's happening and I'm also human and I'm like,
it still doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good, but we have such a beautiful bond that, I feel really good about being able to support her through this and just letting her know that everything she's feeling is totally normal and we're going to be in this together. And,
so sweet. I think about that, like, how if I, when I started bleeding and going into all of that, my mom wasn't there in that way for me, the way I want to be there for my daughter. It was different. It was just different times. It was, I had 3 brothers, big family life. And so, I think it's so beautiful. I'm so excited for to be able to hold space like that for my daughter too, as well. And it's
Yeah, it was,
really funny because I'm starting my perimenopausal journey. So it's like,
Us too.
oh, okay. I'm starting to move out of cycling as she's starting to move in. Like, it's just fascinating how creation works and set this all up, you know?
totally. Same,
Definitely.
same. I know. I was thinking when Siri was talking about your, uh, the work that you do and the Vermont offering, I was thinking like, it's so fascinating to me, like how much for me, like the families that we're raised in really, impacts our relationship with sexuality and sensuality. And um, I was thinking, gosh, because I'm such a sexual being that
Mhm.
I just wonder what it would have been like if we would have had a different relationship with sexuality and sensuality, as far as like having conversations about it and how
Yeah.
natural it is and how normal it is and how beautiful it is, right? It
Yeah.
was just more of like a private thing. And
Mhm.
it just wasn't, it's like it's not talked about, and it's something that
Yeah.
you do when you're a grown up and you love the person that you're with, and that's about it. And
Mhm.
so I feel like, you know, I'm 49 years old now, and I'm really now like coming full circle to the sensual being that I've always been, but
Mhm.
like honoring it in a new way.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about all the work that you do around that.
Yeah, I love that. I was just talking to somebody in one of my programs recently. I've been relating with my daughter around her pleasure since she was little, and it was really important to me that she had access to her body
Mhm.
in a practical way that she could um, lean into her pleasure in times of stress and times of just boredom, whatever. And she would, she was like 2 years old, and she you don't know what you're doing, and she was just all about her vagina and loved it and just kept going. And it was just such a beautiful exploration to keep giving her permission. And I really validated her in her own touch and her own exploration. And then when she got older, I actually was like, okay, so, it got to the point where it's like, okay, you can go touch yourself in your room all you want, and then as she got older and she was experiencing more stress around like 7, 8, we changed her schools. And I was just kind of like, well, why don't you go upstairs and just touch your body, and use it as a way, find what feels good so that you can
Mm.
let go of the stress, So I've used that as a real practical tool for with her. Hopefully she, and I know she has utilized it still. Even though it's kind of, I can feel it faded in her a little bit. It wasn't as strong as it just naturally was.
Mhm.
But I think the permission got embedded in her system, which to me was the most important part that I really wanted to communicate with her.
Yeah, that is revolutionary because if moms were on board with that the way that you are, we would have a different world and
Oh,
a different relationship with our bodies. And
mhm.
we recently did an episode all about body image, and it's
Mm,
about our relationship with our body, and we're talking about the potential of having like a roundtable discussion with a bunch of women about our
mm,
relationship with our bodies and our sexuality. And it's very inspiring the way you're talking about it without, it's like completely just deleting the shame.
yeah.
And I love that saying of like, shame dies in safe spaces where stories are
Mm,
told in safe spaces. And
mm,
so, like, how you have that communication with your daughter, and Amber, how you have the communication with your daughter, I think is that respectful communication, that openness. I think that's so precious and so important. I know my husband has been talking with my oldest, who's kind of going into the teen years, even though he's turning 11 next month, it feels like he's already starting to become a teenager.
mhm.
And so they've been having the conversation, and Phoenix is my oldest. He was asking like, what's edging? And so Jake's like, well, so, it's just like, wow. I remember having secret books that we
Mm,
covered in wrapping paper, and like would have like at recess, like you know, in elementary school, like reading the books about periods and
Yeah.
all of this
Yeah.
stuff, because that's what parents did. They just like put a book on your desk
Yeah.
if you were
Completely.
lucky.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've laced our kids' bookshelves still. It's like, it's so important, you know? And my co-parent Luke, when he had stories for me, he was like, oh, yep, I got out the book. Like when Julian was 10, and he said that he was totally cringed and like under the covers and didn't want to look, but he was also like, he wasn't moving. He wasn't like running out of the room. He wanted to hear every word of it, you know? So
Yes.
it's such a fun, interesting time.
I
And
would
now
love to hear how this even
Yeah,
came to
that's where
be
I was
for you.
going. Yeah.
I mean, Ceres read your bio and you clearly knew that this was your mission for all of your days. But was there a specific catalyst that helped you realize like this particular uh, uh, topic is where you wanted to put your focus?
like sexuality
Mhm.
kind of,
Yeah.
it evolved into that.
Okay.
Um, Even when I was really involved in the energetics of life and helping people develop their intuition and their clairvoyance, I still, you know, because I'm such a sexual being myself,
Mhm.
that I think that's really where it came from.
Yeah.
And I always kind of laced it in, but it was never the focus until actually, you know, when I got separated from my husband 6.5 years ago. Um, Actually, before that, it's probably 7.5 years ago. I had studied with David Data
Oh, wow.
in my 20s
Okay.
early on, and went to some retreats with him. And so that world was kind of opened up and I loved it. And then, you know, just went on my way, and marriage and children, separation and divorce. And as soon as we started to get into trouble, I was like, okay, we got to hit David Data. Like we got to go back into that world. And I found John Wineland. And so we entered into John's world like
Mhm.
7.5, 8 years ago now. And I stayed. I was just like, and so we entered into John's world of sexual polarity and intimacy and all of that. And we realized that we were going to get divorced. And so we stayed in that community actually and had John's support really moving through a healthy divorce. And
Wow.
Wow.
clearing everything that needed to be cleared and speaking everything that needed to be spoken, and so that we could maintain our family
Mm.
and stay intact as
Wow.
co-parents.
Mhm.
And we've worked really hard on that. We have a once a month clearing still, and we are very intentional about our relationship so that we can have harmony as a family unit still. And I
Mm.
stayed in the work, and my co-parent, he stayed in the work kind of differently.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like, okay, I'm all in, because it's all about staying connected to your sexual essence as an offering of love in the world, you know. And it's where I really brought in the piece of embodiment. Like, okay, all the way in, final frontier is our sexuality. It's like, and to really feel and own and get into the body. And I was kind of burnt out on all the energy work because, you know, psychic, schmikic energy. I remember one time a client came to me and I was like, oh, I think I'm done with this, because she was like, there's all these beings and da, da, da,
Yes,
da,
yes.
you know, and all of the energetic world. And I was like, you know what? If you were feeling your pussy, you would not notice the being in the room. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is where we're going. Because I just kept feeling and experiencing all the energy work as kind of bypassing
Mm.
Mm.
bypassing of our human experience. There's a level where it's totally legitimate. Like I worked with someone yesterday on helping her she was choosing to end a pregnancy. And so I helped her kind of separate energetically from the spirit. So
Mhm.
there's levels where it's so legit, and I honor it and I love it. And, you know, to me as a humanity, it's like, getting into the body and feeling all the things, the sex, the grief, the joy, all like our full range as women. That's what really lights me up. And I think it's what lights other women up, and it's what lights men up, and it's what lights, it's just really being able to tap into that juice to me is like the creative essence of life. It's so, I love it. So I've stayed in it now, and I've just kept on. I'm a lead trainer in John's work, so I help lead and teach his work, and I do all my own stuff as well. So it's kind of just become front and center as like the main thing. So it's been
That's
really fun.
that's gorgeous. It's so important. And you're right. It's like it is what connects all of us in our humanity and what
Mm,
brings us alive. And this is obviously what Amber and I are curious about and interested in and dropping into and helping other women drop into.
yeah.
Amber does it through dance. I do it through breath work.
Oh, nice.
I'm
Nice.
curious just to get into the embodied woman
Mm,
aspect of it for you. What is it for Sarah? What is it to be an embodied woman for you personally? What is it in your world? How do you
mhm,
talk about it?
mhm, mhm. Um, well, I'm just like nervous system regulation. It's like, it's the next thing I have to say, because
Yeah.
um what I've found over the years, because my whole life has been on a transformational path and being a teacher from the time I was 18 years old, I've been teaching some version of transformation. And coming into nervous system regulation work in the last, I don't know, 5.5, 6 years, um, it is the thing that I have seen really help people land the deeper healing that needs to happen in their systems, helping them ratchet down their survival strategies and
Mm.
then be able to kind of get underneath them really helps them land in their body in a way that they just couldn't before. And so embodiment for me starts with that nervous system regulation, and that establishing safety, and actually as a practice, like most people, women especially, we walk around and we don't realize we're feeling a level of unsafety all the
That
time,
hypervigilance.
that constantly.
Yeah.
And even just pointing to it and having the awareness of, oh, I'm actually dysregulated subtly all the time,
Yes, yes,
is
yes.
is a huge thing for most people to get.
Hmm.
And then I even talk to women where I'm like, okay, even if there's nothing in your external world that's triggering you, is your nervous system so used to being in dysregulation that you actually induce dysregulation yourself through the thoughts that you think, through the feelings you feel? We could be peaceful on top of a mountain, and because our nervous system pattern is so used to dysregulation, we will dysregulate ourselves.
Yeah, we'll just drip the cortisol. We'll make the cortisol all day
Yes,
long because
whatever we
those
can do.
patterns, yeah.
Yeah, and the nervous
Yes.
system wants repetition. It doesn't matter what it is, it wants repetition. And if that's the pattern that it's most used to, that's what it will do.
Mm.
And so I start from that level of nervous system regulation, and really work with people consistently to retrain their systems. And it's pretty simple. It's not, nervous system regulation is simple. It's but then from nervous system regulation, there's an opportunity to really go in and resolve, not even heal, but resolve the core patterns and the core traumas. From regulation, there's the opportunity to really deeply heal and transform ourselves. And so then so regulation is the first step. And then I go into this deeper exploration of healing what really needs to be healed, like finally,
Mm.
completing it.
Mm.
And then once and then back to nervous system regulation, because it's like, okay, what does it feel in your body to not have to be efforting all the time to try to fix what's broken?
Yeah.
How does it feel? What are you spending your energy and life force on if you don't have to be so vigilant about transforming?
Yeah.
And so then from there, it's teaching women how to really deeply rest and relax and soften. Right. And just keep ratcheting down, ratcheting down, ratcheting down. And then it's like, well, okay, now you're regulated. You are not holding all the trauma of your childhood and your past wounding and all the stories. So now what do you reach for? Eros, pleasure, sexual enjoyment, positive sensation in the body. Okay, and so it's kind of a building, to that
Yes.
energy, and teaching them like, okay, how do we activate this every day for 2 minutes, like literally take 2 minutes to activate positive sensations some way, somehow through your body. And then how can you instill that as the nervous system foundational pattern, where you wake up and you're feeling into that openness instead of the closure, right? How can you feel into the creativity and the inspiration, or the grief too, because we're such cyclical beings. We'll get these highs, and depending on our cycles and where we are in life, then it's like the grief hits so hard.
Yeah.
And so then it moves kind of into this realm of more spiritual, from the basic nervous system, strategic survival patterns into that embodiment of pleasure. Then it's like, okay, through this connection up to positive sensation, there's a way in which we're tapping into the essence of all of life, and then from there, it's like, how can we be of greatest service on this planet? How can we offer our lives as an offering of generosity, of love? How can we walk around as a gift of love, and an embodiment of love? And that's kind of where I like to take women. It's like, as you're walking through the grocery store, not because you're trying to get something, but because there's nothing else to do. There's nothing else your mind and your attention is fixated on. So it's like, can I just let the love that I am flow out of me to my children, to the grocery clerk, to the people on the phone, to my clients, to the teacher, to the pickup, to whoever, to my partner? Can I be an embodied offering of love for life?
Mm.
And so that's kind of where I take it.
That's amazing. I know, Amber, you've been doing a practice sort of similar to what Sarah's talking
Yeah,
about.
I mean, I have so much that I want to speak
I
to about
know.
what you just said, because it's
Yay!
like,
Let's hear it.
well, so yeah, so I've been doing a pleasure practice for today's day 24, and I'm committed to a 90-day practice, and
Yes.
documenting it, and sharing about it. And what I had kind of this aha moment when you started talking about the nervous system regulation. I've had a lot of like memories surfacing from me, and childhood experiences, and I made a connection right now when you were talking about that. When I was about in second grade, I started experiencing what I believe are manifestations of nervous system dysregulation in like physical tics. Like I would blink my eyes, or I would, and my parents got called into the office because they thought maybe I needed glasses because I kept blinking a lot. And this is something that I've carried with me, and I see my my daughter have it actually. But also at around that time, it was one of the first times where, well, it was the first time where I experienced, as a sexual, sensual being, pleasure with the little boy who lived next door.
Oh, wow.
Um, and it was innocent, and it was, it felt really, really good. And every time he would come over, he was the grandson, like we would, go in our rooms, or we'd hide under the blankets, and, and I would experience pleasure, and I would experience an expression of my sensuality, my sexuality. And my parents found us one time, and it was like, it became this thing where,
Yeah.
I know that they they communicated from the place that they thought was the best place to communicate. Like, this is something that, it's called making love. And it's when you get to be a grown-up and you get married, and that was about it. And I went to Catholic school. And so second grade confession, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I made love to this little boy next door. And so I was given some, Hail Marys. And I didn't realize a couple weeks ago, I did yeah, right. Oh God, the second grade little girl. But I've carried that with me, not consciously knowing that it has impacted me. But I'm wondering, right? I'm wondering the connection to the nervous system, like my sexual, sensual energy, my life force energy, all of a sudden, it didn't feel like it was safe to express it. Or I wasn't given an appropriate avenue to express it, let's say, right? And so it was like, ooh, let's just shut this down. And so I see now with the pleasure practice that I'm doing right now, the impact positively on my nervous system. And what I've been documenting is, well, for like a couple of weeks, I had extreme sadness. I had some grief. I had some, just deep emotion. But recently I have been sharing, I feel a softening. I feel an opening. I feel an expansion of my ability to experience pleasure. So yeah, everything you're saying is just, it's resonating so deeply. And it really is where I feel like I'm being called to the next chapter of what I'm learning and want to teach, is how important it is, how vital it is for us to really tap into that and let go of all the stories of shame and judgment that we, have taken on over the years.
Yeah, it's so important. Wow.
Yeah.
Such
I know
beautiful.
the priest, right? He's like, oh. Oh boy.
So beautiful. I love that. And it's so amazing, like to have a structured container of a pleasure practice for 90 days. I'm so about structure. Structure really opens the door for us to have a deeper experience of whatever it is. And so to hear how you're just cracking open in that, oh, I love that. So
Yeah.
nice.
And I'm grateful to have someone who is holding a container for me to share everything that I'm discovering. Yeah, it's a pretty cool practice.
So nice.
Sarah, I am really fascinated by intimacy, and we're talking already about intimacy with ourselves, intimacy in terms of like transparency with our children, but then also intimacy with partners. And I think it's so fascinating how intimacy plays a role, either our longing for it, our desire for it, our human desire to connect that we all have inherently, and then also our fear of it, like our deep fear of it. And so I'm curious how you work with that.
Oh, ooh, I have like, it's so true. It's like, it's really the place where the rubber meets the road. It's like we can do all these practices ourselves as women, but then put us in front of a man or our partner or whatever. And then it's our bodies take on totally different shapes, and the habitual response of being in front of partner, lover, it's like, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I love to work with couples to help to get the pattern of how they connect intimately retrained. And it's, similar to the path of with just a woman, the arc of her opening. There's a path with couples that it's like, okay, how do we peel away and melt away all of the resentment and all of the built up everything that hasn't been said and the disconnect, so we usually have to tend to the past first, like everything up to this point that needs to be tended to, so that there can be like, so the first step with couples is I teach them how to do clearing conversations. and to start to get really clear on what they need. Like, what are your top needs in relationship as the man, as the woman, and our needs. This is one of the primary conversations I have with most couples. Your needs are not personal to your partner. Your needs are inherently what you need to feel connection, joy, love, belonging, turn on, whatever it is. They're personal to you. If you were not with the person you're with, but you went to the next, your needs would go with you. It's like, right? And so much of the work is really about both people owning what they really need and moving the shame out of it and giving so much permission, and then creating safety to share that kind of conversation with each other. And
that's so good.
it's amazing the walls that it breaks down so rapidly to, and I think this work is meant to do with other people holding the space, because the relational frontier really is to me, like one of the final frontiers that and not even final, but the frontier that we're really addressing as a humanity, I think, right now. Is how do we relate? What's the purpose of relationship now? And because it's not the same as it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago at all. What we're needing out of relationship is completely different. And so going from there, that creates such a vulnerability and an intimacy of owning our needs. And then if we've cleared the backlog of history and really gotten each person present and in ownership and, sloughed off the shame of our needs, then it's like, okay, how can we start to add in play and erotic fun and some structures that create and practices that create more intimacy, more sexual turn on, more aliveness in the kitchen, at dinner, in the bedroom, and how can we actually, I work with sexual polarity. So how can we actually create that arc of sexual polarity and tension again with our partners, no matter where we are, that this is kind of it's the practice to keep that alive. And what does that mean? To actually have that spark of sexual turn on and attraction. Want me to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I'm curious because,
I love it.
there's this whole dynamic of, we're talking about safety, right? Nervous system and safety. And so there's this interesting dynamic of, I find, and I think Amber has found some of this too, of like when you're growing up and you have a crush on someone, and then it's like, do they like me? Do they not like me? And there's that whole like kind of nervous system dysregulation. Maybe there's chasing involved of like, oh, can I get this person?
Yeah.
All of those kind of games and things like this. And there's like bad boys. And I was thinking last night about how I used to go from like the good guy to like the bad boy to the good guy, like back and forth, like each relationship was like swing of the pendulum. And not that any one person is any one thing, but it's just interesting, like that, those dynamics of feeling safe with your partner.
Yeah.
They want you, and then like letting that also be such a turn on, right? Like that there doesn't have to be this kind of question mark, like combining the safety with the excitement.
Well,
for
and
sure.
I also think too, like when you were talking about being clear about what your needs are, if you would have asked me, right, years ago, even up until probably not that long ago, what are your top 3 needs? I would have not been able to communicate that, because my main focus in relationship was, do they choose me? Do they want me? I don't want to be alone. I want to belong. So I don't know what my needs are, but if you want me, I'll just be what you need me to be. Right. And if I dare speak what my needs are, you might leave me, and I'm not willing to do that. So I'm just now twice divorced, single, looking to find and call in divine union partnership, where I'm willing to risk the loss by stating my needs. And
Absolutely.
it's painful and it's scary and it's sad and I want partnership. And I've also arrived at a place where I've done the other for so many years that it's never brought me the fulfillment and the intimacy that I so crave on a soul level, that I'm like, okay, I've done the work. I'm clear about what my needs are. I will speak them, and then I'll let it, let the chips fall where they may, and trust that, the right person will be ready to meet those needs, and I will be ready to meet their needs, and we'll be able to have that conversation. Right.
Yeah. It's
So
it's a different conversation. It's not about the survival strategies and the unconscious relational dynamics anymore. It's like, okay, are we in or not? Great. We're in. Okay. This is where we're starting from. Yes. Great. What do we want to architect and what do we want it to be about? It's much more, relationship in this day and age has to be much more conscious. Like we have to choose every step of the way. Like, I literally have conversations with men I'm dating and like, what are your wounds? Okay, great. What are your wounds? And how would our wounds interact? So we know each other's needs. We know our wound, like what's your attachment style? And oh yeah. And then like literally texting, like I'm going into my anxious avoidant right now. And rather than acting that out, I'm going to be vulnerable and text you. And then, I'm actually in conversation with a man right now who is like, thank you. Oh my God, I love this. And we had this great in-depth conversation. He's like, I just need to tell you where I'm at and what's my truth and and it's like radical honesty about who we are, where we're at, what we need, and meeting there. And it's so vulnerable and it's so truthful, but it's so attractive. It's so good, and anything less just doesn't work. I'd rather be alone than be in something where I have to, dim that. Totally. And I think it's also the woman, I've been talking about this a lot lately, that women are so much farther ahead than the men, because for thousands of years, the male nervous system has had to brace itself to go to war for thousands of years on this planet. And, that's the main reason why there's such a split in our consciousness and our ability to access our hearts is war. And so for the women, not even just the feminine, for women to understand that and have compassion, and so really trying to meet him where he's at with total truth and honesty and, all the things, and validate and praise and without mothering, helping to actually bridge these men into more healing and a more full experience of love from women, I think is really important for us to be willing to bring the men along as much as we can, and then be checking our patterns the whole way. Like, am I caretaking? Am I, am I in my unconscious pattern of over giving to try to get what I want? And, so checking all those things, but it's like, can I just be generous in my love and see how it serves him? Because most women I see are have much more access to the love energy in their bodies than men do. And so how can we give that as an offering of healing for them? So
this is the conversation that I want to be having every day. This is it. I'm going to say one quick thing before Sarah, you jump in. I just oh my God, it just left me. I was right there. It just completely left me. Go, Siri, and then it'll come back to me.
Yeah, it was just that we've had some conversations with embodied men, and what we've talked about in those conversations was that it didn't feel safe for those men to drop the sword.
Mhm.
And if they go
Yeah.
to their if they drop the sword and they go to their knees, then the
Yeah.
family, the woman, the children, they feel unsafe. So how challenging that is for them
Yeah.
to feel like they can do that. And that as women, we talked about that we feel the most embodied when we're around embodied men, but that the men feel the most safe and embodied when they're around an embodied woman. So, like you're saying, Sarah, is like for us to continue to do our work that
Mhm.
we're doing, that we're evolving into, is this full embodiment work.
Mhm.
These practices, these sensual self pleasure practices, so that we can be accessing our full cup.
Mhm.
Like we are fully filled in so that we can be the safe space for these men to feel safe, to have their feelings or to share
Mhm.
vulnerably or to be honest.
Mhm.
This is, I think, what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's such a difference between, I talk to so many women who are dating and, and it's like they show up with their list. It's like I train people how to, women how to have their needs list. And then they're like, well, does he check off this list and this list and this, does he check off all the things on my list? And he's not showing up the way I need him to. And so no, move on. And, and it's like, that's the
Yeah.
culture
Yeah.
we've created,
Swipe
this
left. Yeah.
swiping left culture, like where we're discardable, like we're just going to discard each other constantly.
Mhm.
And it's, the thing that I really try to help women that I work with get is coming from a place of generosity, not as strategy, not as a strategy,
Mm.
but as the deep truth of who we are, the flow of love. We are the flow of love. And from there, you don't actually need very much from him.
Mm.
And really, when we are tapped into that and resourced as the flow of love, what we actually need from our intimate partner is actually much less than we think. And then, and I work on this with couples too. It's like, how can both people really be expressions of generosity for each other? And so where it's not this succubus, like we're sucking and what am I getting from my marriage, from my relationship, from this date, from whatever the moment is. And instead it's like, how can I show up and be my best fullest self and offer and give and give. And if both people are doing that, oh, that's like heaven, you
Yeah,
know?
and in order to get to that place of offering and giving and overflow,
Mhm.
it's like we've got to do our own work. We've got to do our
Absolutely.
own nervous system regulation. That has to be the
Absolutely.
priority.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you are giving from that
Survival
lack
strategy.
and right?
Yep.
And it's just,
Yeah.
Resentment,
yeah.
fawning. I'm
Yeah.
okay. I don't need anything and I'm just gonna give. And over here, you're like, what the
Yeah.
heck?
Yes.
Seething.
Okay. So this, I remembered what I was thinking. That's exactly what it is. It's what Brene Brown talks about, how vulnerability is courage, and
Mm,
how for so many years I thought that by me expressing the truth of how I was feeling, like you did, like this is what's being triggered, that my insecurity or my vulnerability was like repulsive or
mm,
unattractive or embarrassing or something
mhm,
that I wanted to hide. And so I thought, if I don't have those needs and I don't express that, I'll be more attractive. Right.
mhm.
And so
Yeah.
what I'm hearing you say and what I'm feeling from you when I hear you talk about it is that's actually a very empowered place to come from,
Mhm,
is to be able to communicate openly and honestly and vulnerably and to say, this is how I'm feeling right now. Like, this is what's being triggered in me. These are the wounds that have, and to be able to say that out loud is actually a place of strength and embodiment and empowerment, as
mhm,
opposed to what I thought it was before, weak
mhm,
Yeah.
and pathetic and embarrassing and needy. Because
mhm.
God forbid be needy. It's like, oh my God, that's like a bad word, right?
Total,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. But how we get to that place is so important.
Mm.
Mm,
Because, one of the first things I do when I work with couples, it's like, okay, you go to your corner and you go to your corner. And I stop the process of them practicing and healing with each other. Because when we try to heal with our partners too much, we resent them and we expect them, and it becomes this codependent loop. So I'm like, okay, men go over there, women go over there, and teaching the women how to regulate the nervous system, off gas what needs to be off gassed, feel the full range of her beautiful heart and all of it, the full range, practicing that with other women. And then understanding that there are some, some men, but most men can have about 15% of what a woman's nervous system can handle.
Wow.
And can we actually let that be okay? That it's actually okay that he will get blown out with my full range because I am in full range with my sisters. I go over here and I'm in my full range. And so my cup is getting filled somewhere else.
Right.
I'm able to be seen in my fullest expression in other places in my life. And so I know that I need to titrate when I'm with my partner. I need to, bring what's important. And if that needs getting fulfilled over here where I'm being seen and fully felt, what is the need that I have with him? It starts to
Yes.
change.
I so experienced that as those times when I've caught myself trying to have my husband be the girlfriend,
Right?
and they just don't have it in them, and
Yeah.
they're not going to show up in the way that we need necessarily. They just don't know how to do it. I mean, they can sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's not sexy.
No, no. And that's the thing about polarity. It's like, can you protect the charge by not, so polarity is difference. There's a difference. When there's difference in the energy of what he brings and what he's, present for and what she brings, and when it's different, then it's hot and it creates this arc of like, ooh, I want that magnetism. Same is touchy, collapsed on the couch, cuddling, all the like bestie, girlfriend energy, that sameness, which is also really needed on some level. But if you really want to create that magnetism and that like, oh my God, I want to be fucked to oblivion with each other, that actually comes from celebrating your differences and letting the differences have space in the relationship. That's really cool.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love how you're talking about sisterhood, because that's what Amber and I create every week. We have a sisterhood and we fill our cup together, and it's so gorgeous and beautiful.
So
That
nice.
female energy where we're supporting, it's just like, it's the
Yeah.
best. It's the best.
Yeah. There's nothing else like women being around other women, and because our energy can get higher and build together, and we can't, men, not even the masculine men don't do that in the same way. Their nervous systems aren't designed that way. So yeah, it's such
so
a
helpful
joy.
to know that and to take judgment off of it and appreciate it and understand it and have compassion for it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm so excited to really dive even deeper into this work around relationship, because I feel like my whole life I've been attempting to experience relationship in the way that my soul craves, and yet I have not had that because of what I've needed to recognize and heal and all the things. So now I feel like I'm at a place where I'm able to go into the next partnership with a completely new set of skills and tools and level of awareness and appreciation. So that's exciting to me. And I love hearing you talk about it. It's so incredible.
Yeah, it's hopeful, right? It's like,
Yes.
oh, what the possibility is. And that's what I love holding. It's like, what is the possibility of relationship and intimacy right now? It's pretty cool. Yeah. You should come to our sexual polarity workshop in Boulder.
Where is it? When is it? Tell us.
In April. So we're having one in Boulder in April 19th through 21st. And then we're having one in June in Vancouver. It's a co-ed intimacy, polarity, sexual polarity. intensive.
Oh
In
my
And
goodness.
Canada.
in Vancouver, Canada. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's close to you. Yes, Siri?
Like 5 hours north.
Okay.
Where are
Yeah.
you?
Okay.
I'm outside of Portland, Oregon.
Oh, wow. I had you in LA. You were in LA.
I'm
I
in
was.
LA.
Okay. Yeah.
I was in
Yeah.
LA.
Kind of
Yeah.
LA.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, but it's going to be couples and single people. And we're, practicing the art of it's like it's one thing to talk. And there's another thing to stand in front of a man and relax your body and start to let the energy move and flow and be seen in that and show it. So it's training women, the feminine women, how to really be in that soft, open flow of love, and training the masculine pole how to really be in centered presence, single pointed awareness, expanded and wide. And, it's like we teach people how to create that arc of, and it's super fun. So fun.
That sounds exciting.
It
That
Yeah.
sounds exciting. I
Yeah.
love it.
Okay, Sarah, so you're obviously have talked about some embodiment practices, but I'm curious for you in your world, personally, when you get off track, when you feel disembodied or you feel in your head or dysregulated, whatever it is, what are your top 3 favorite things? I've seen some Instagram stuff, but I'm
Mhm.
curious, like, what is your go-to? What are your go-tos?
I have quick little 15-minute, 20-minute regulation practices that I do where it's just creating safety in the body and then expanding my awareness around what's happening. So, like, okay, what's the emotion I'm feeling? What's the sensation I'm feeling? What's the story or the thought that's happening in the body? Okay. Where do they exist? Ah, okay, great. And then just from that awareness, the amygdala, the limbic system will start to drop pretty quickly. And then I go to the whatever is biggest, whatever a trigger happens when the sensation, the emotion, and the thought all happen simultaneously. It's like, right? So separating the thought, the emotion, and the sensation de-escalates the trigger in the body. And then you start to look at the survival, like the strategy that is what's bigger, the sensation or the emotion or the thought. And you go to whichever domain is bigger and you start to dissipate that tension and release that tension in the body. Because triggers are the surface expression of the trauma.
Mhm,
Trauma is held in the body as tension.
mhm,
So if you're just tracking tension, like somatic tension in the body,
mhm,
you will, this is why I love nervous system regulation, because you don't even have to go into the stories. You
mhm,
can just track tension and relaxation through the body and regulate, dissipate, and then resolve the pattern. And with the thoughts, with the emotions and the sensations. So that's my go-to. Like, if I wake up in 3 a.m, that's the practice I'm doing. If I, have 15 minutes, I drop off my kids and do my morning that before I start my day, I will do that.
So is from the outsider, what does that look like? Does it look like you're sitting in a chair and just meditating? Does it look like you're moving your body? How are you doing that process?
Yep, my eyes are closed. I'm in a meditation. So
Okay.
it's a body tracking meditation process
Okay.
that I'm doing. I can send you one. I'm happy to send you one. I have so many of them.
Sure.
So I do that. And then I also, the thing for me is I have 3 pillars kind of that I like to touch. One is my spiritual practice, which, once a nervous system is always my base, it's always my foundation. If I have nothing else, if I don't have time for everything, I will hit the nervous system to make sure I'm regulated. And then if I have more time, then I will go on my walk and I'll expand my awareness and kind of meet the infinite. I'll meet creation and I'll feel into the bigness of life, my spiritual connection, and then my 3rd pillar is pleasure, where I'll move the hips in circles and figure eights. I'll move the spine in just this organic way. I'll touch, and this could literally take 2 minutes where I'm on all fours. I just did an Instagram.
I
Yeah,
saw
I
that.
saw
Yeah.
it.
I'm on all fours and I'm just moving the spine. I'm touching the body and then I'm opening the throat. Ah,
Mhm.
ooh, for 2 minutes and it resets and it's like, okay, it expands my energetic field. My body feels alive and vibrant. And so those are my three go-to all the time. And I have different things that kind of feed those three.
When you're hitting the
Incredible.
nervous system first, you're saying that's just through like a meditation for you, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
I've taught nervous system regulation courses, and then I have all the recordings of them, and I have
Mhm.
literally have I'll send them to you.
Mhm.
There's a couple like 18-minute clips that I will just listen to, and it's just me going through, okay, soften and relax the base of, of the skull. Can you bring your awareness to the amygdala, the reptilian part of the brain, and can you start to melt that? Okay, feel into the heart and start to relax and soften the heart. And it's like just going through the body, helping you to soften and melt the musculature. And then I go into just leading people through, okay, what's the sensation happening in the body? What's the emotion? And even just getting people to understand the emotional texture, like that's a big deal for you to be able to like, oh, I'm having this experience. Oh, it's actually the feeling is kind of anxious. Okay, what? Oh, yeah, it's anxiousness. Oh, underneath the anxiousness, oh, I actually feel fear. That's fear.
Mhm.
That's fear. That's what fear feels like in my body. I remember when I did that probably 10 years ago. I grew up my whole life thinking I was fearless. And then I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that I had so much fear in my body that I had numbness on top of it.
Right.
Mhm.
We don't even
So
realize. Yes.
we don't
Yeah.
realize. And
Yeah.
so really starting to track what the emotional textures are
Mhm.
and what it actually feels like in our bodies is revelatory. It's like
Yeah.
amazing to, you know. So sensation, emotion, and thought, and then finding where it's actually rooted in the body.
That's
That,
great.
yeah, super important.
Well,
Incredible. Incredible.
Sarah, thank you so
Thank you.
much for
You're
your
so welcome.
wide depth of wisdom. I know
Mm.
that, there's books upon books that you could share with us of your wisdom. And obviously, this is just a nugget today, but it's so potent. And I think we
Mm.
got right to the heart of things, didn't we?
We did.
We
We
did.
really did. It feels really good.
We
Yeah.
did.
Yes. Thank you both so much for having me. And I love talking about this with other women. It's so feeding and nourishing. So I really appreciate both of you. Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
love you. I
This
love
was
you.
magical. This was absolutely magical. I'm so excited to share this with our community and really have this be a conversation that we're having more.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And I
where can we
will.
send people to you?
My website,
Okay.
sarahentrup.com, is the
Okay.
best place. Instagram, I'm on Instagram, Sarah Entrup on Instagram. And I always have different offerings. I'm actually creating, it's called Calm Core. It's a nervous system regulation program for perimenopausal women right now.
Ooh,
Ooh,
that's good.
Yes. Yes.
Needed.
that
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I have the polarity stuff. So Amber, really, I might pull you in.
Yeah, it sounds like it's where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, I can say
Amazing.
that I would trust Sarah. I would trust you with anything.
Mm,
Um, Having
mm,
worked with you 20 years ago,
mhm.
it's only gotten better. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate
Thank you,
that, Siri.
Sarah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we're gonna
So
Okay.
wrap
lovely
well,
to
we're
meet you
gonna
too.
wrap up. We'll let you
Yes.
go.
Yes. Mwah, mwah.
Mwah.
Thank you
Ah,
both.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Ah, so good.
so good. Yeah. I'm just like soaking it all in.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Um, yeah, you can tell there's just she's dropped any sort of stories or shame, or I mean it really is her job to help us out of all of that and just
Yeah.
bring us into the next level of peace and embodiment and sacred sexuality and all of that. It's just, and I love how she said like, and then you give your love and you be of service because you're coming from this overflow.
Yeah. And what I've also been rediscovering, because I feel like it's stuff that we know, and then we get to know it on a deeper level.
Totally.
But like just this concept, and we hear Kathy Heller talk about it, and you and I talk about it, and but you know, this way of being in the world in the feminine, where we're in flow and we're softening and we're opening and we're allowing, and just giving permission, because the world that we live in, that we've all lived in, that we've been modeled, is that's not how you get shit done.
Mhm.
That's not how you get what you want. Right?
Yes, yes.
You have to operate in the masculine, where you're doing and going and hard, right? And like
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I shared yesterday in my in my experience was, I'm not meant to be hard. I'm meant to be soft. And I can be soft and also have clear boundaries. I can be soft
Yeah.
and also speak my needs. I can be
Yeah.
soft and use discernment and be true to myself. Like I don't have to, right? Like, because
Yeah.
we associate those with like
Totally.
being tough and hard.
Yeah,
And
it's like black or white, but it's
yeah,
you're talking about this integration of the feminine and the masculine
yes,
energies.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And also another thing that I shared yesterday that was really powerful for me was, and Sarah was kind of talking about, just the appreciation for the masculine.
Right.
I'm recognizing that the aspects of the masculine that I fear and resist
Mm.
are more of like the shadow aspects of oppression and control, and
Right.
like me fighting for my place and my voice.
Yeah.
And
Which makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, but to also recognize the beautiful aspects of the masculine are to be able to lead and guide and hold space and be this loving container when you
Yeah,
feel
and
safe.
protect and yes,
Yeah, and so
yes.
like to be able to surrender to that energy when you feel safe.
Right.
Because in my experience, I haven't had in my recent past a safe container where I was held with the positive aspects of the masculine.
And unfortunately, a lot of women
That's right.
have
That's
that
right.
same experience you're talking about.
That's
Yeah.
right. And so to find people like John Wineland,
Yeah.
who Sarah mentioned, who I follow, and just find more men that are familiar with this work, that are doing this work.
Yeah, that are
Yeah.
walking their path. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really, and what she said is what I'm just starting to kind of move into now, is like, it's hopeful. Like
Yes.
as someone who has felt at times hopeless about relationships, I feel that this work and this awareness offers some hope, right? For those of us who are wanting to call in the kind of love and intimacy that, that our soul craves.
That you and we deserve.
That we deserve, and that we
Yes.
actually, a basic human need is love.
That's right.
Is to love and be loved. It's a basic human
Yes.
need.
Yes.
And we all there, I just read something the other day about like, what is life without love? And it's true. And that can be love for anything: love for our friends, love for our children, love for romantic partners, love for ourselves, right?
Yeah, we are the universe expressing itself as love.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Amen to that. Amen to all the love.
Amen.
Amber, I can't wait because the next time I see you is going to be here in person
Yes, I know. I can't wait.
for your event. All right.
Yep. All right.
Thanks, guys, for coming on the journey. Reach out to us if you want to have sharing, or you have questions for us or for Sarah. We want to hear from you. So tell us how your journey's going. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.